Coming up on This Week, Next Week, nepotism provided one of the performances of the autumn with a barnstorming Champagne Stakes victory. The ever-colourful Wayne Hawkes will stop by to chat about the Boom Colt, amongst some of the other exciting recent stable runners.
Hello, I'm Ray Thomas and welcome to This Week, Next Week. Well, the Sydney Autumn Carnival is over for another year. Corey Brown with me and so many highlights, and that 2-year-old nepotism, we'll talk to Wayne Hawkes shortly. Wasn't that something to behold in the Champagne Stakes?
A little bit freakish, Ray, because a lot of runners on the day never really come from back off him, but he come from back off him. It was good speed, but just the way that he attacked the line, he's got a bit of superstar in him.
He's a special colt. We'll get straight into it because so much to look forward to over the next half. Now, let's go to our first of our replays, Corey. Shangri-La Spring, led, controlled, too good. Swift Falcon, maybe he's come to the end of it.
Yeah, I think he's had a few hard runs, Swift Falcon, this time round, Ray. I really think he's probably looking for a rest. He was ridden upside down to what he normally does, but I don't think that was the difference. But the winner just took control. Timmy Clark, how can you leave these guys alone in front like that? I thought they'd know this by now, these jockeys.
Could he run 2,400 metres in a Queensland Derby, that horse?
Left alone like that, he could.
Yeah,
left alone like that for sure.
He's very tough there in the Frank Packer plate. On to the James HB Car Stakes, and Annabelle Neesham and Rob Archibald had a terrific day, and congratulations to them. They get married on Thursday. They had 2 stakes winners. Here's the first. Lilac, led, dominated, too good.
Yeah, not very often you see James McDonald out in front controlling the speed. He's generally on sort of midfield or, just behind the speed horses, but rated it perfectly out in front. Just another one took the race by the scruff of the neck pretty much from the get-go.
And she'd been running well against the top fillies, so she deserved that big race success in the car stacks. On to the JRA plate and the ghostly grey, Bois d'Argent, again, led, controlled, dominated, too good.
I really like this horse, and I tell you what, I really like this young bloke as a rider, Ethan Brown. He's going to make a real name for himself. I think that was his... he's ridden, I think, 6 Group 1s this season, so he's doing really, really well, and I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing a bit more of him up here in the northern state.
Yeah, well, Kieran Maher likes him a lot, and he does seem very confident and measured. And he was talking to you post-race, remarkably confident young man, and we'll see him shortly at Group 1 winning form. But, Corey, I just want to get your opinion on this. This is nepotism, back last, green, colours. How did he win from here?
It's freakish, Ray. Like I said, they did go fairly genuine up front, which allowed him to get back from that tricky gate. But I honestly, at the 600 metre mark, I thought there's just no way this horse is going to be able to get home over top of them. And he's got a bit of freak about him, this horse. He's really super impressive. For his 3rd race start, to be doing something like that, it was super impressive.
He's by Brutal out of a close relation to Black Caviar, so he's bred to be good, and he is good. Well, here's the All-Age Stakes, the final Group 1 of the season. I thought about here, Briasa could get a Group 1 double, but there's not many horses who have the finishing speed of Jimmy Starr.
No, he was ridden perfectly by Ethan Brown. Snookered away back in on the fence. He just took his time getting through, but once he got clear air, he was dominant. He was strong through the line. Super unlucky last time out when he stumbled at the start, but just a really nice little horse.
Wouldn't be surprised if those top 4, Corey, all end up in the Everest. Jimmy Starr beating Jolie Starr, Sunshine in Paris and Briasa, so all 4 could end up in the Everest. And here's the Hallmark Stakes. Marzu, great old warrior, wins his 2nd successive Hallmark Stakes.
Great story, Marzu. We know he's got the 2 Everests under his belt, but he sort of lost his way and he obviously changed of stable, went to Joey Pride, bit of a change of scenery, but just good to see a lovely horse like this get back on top and back to the winner's circle.
Great ride by Jamie as well.
Oh, terrific ride, yeah. And she knows how to ride the horse. She even said you can't ride him too pretty. You've got to sort of snooker him away and not have no luck on him, but just produce him with one little crack at him.
Well, Corey, let's talk to Wayne Hawkes, the co-trainer of Nepotism, who, without doubt, was an absolute star winning that Champagne Stakes. And Wayne Hawkes, thanks for joining us on This Week, Next Week.
Good evening, Ray. Good evening, Corey.
Hello, mate.
Wayne, well, as I said, he was just absolutely outstanding nepotism. You don't see 2-year-olds come from last in a Group 1 race at just his 3rd start and get up and win. What were you thinking on the home turn?
What I was thinking, I cannot say what I was thinking on TV, Ray, but you can imagine, like nothing's come from near last all day and they've been sort of middle of the track and I was actually watching Federalist going, will you get going so we can get a card home with nepotism, and Nash went back to the inside, which didn't help. And we knew they'd get back because, as you can see there, the footies, they both drew a bit ordinary and had to, both of them had to go back. But you just didn't think nepotism would be so far back.
Yeah.
Wayne, like with this horse, he doesn't have to race there. We know that. He went back because of the draw. How far do you reckon he'll go? I know you said his post-race comments were, you know, we don't need him to go any further, but the options are a lot better, you know, if he can go further. Do you think he can get further?
Well, the thing is, Corey, and you understand this as being a jockey, he's so relaxed, this horse, and nothing bothers him. So that's going to give you every chance to run further. But, you know, you doesn't have to, no, but you're right. If he could run 2,000, it would be good. But right there, I'm thinking, oh, this is not how it was supposed to go. This is not the last day of the championships. What are we doing?
Yeah.
Second last and last.
It's the worst position as a jockey too, like where Nash was positioned in front. Tyler wants him to go that half a length, 3/4 of the length quicker so he can start getting into the race. It's really frustrating when you're in that position. But, mate, his sectionals must have been unbelievable, the way he rattled home.
Well, he was still, I watched the replay 8 times up the top of the straight, and he was still last for the 250.
Yep.
See, right here, I'm thinking, Nash, will you go? Go out wide, Nash. Go out wide like he did the other day, because he should have been on J-Mac's back, but then they were both struggling, and Nash went back in, so I just lost track of him, and Tyler was, he wasn't hitting him, but he was just waving him with the whip to get him to go out, and he's still last there, right there. That's about the 250-metre mark, and, well, from here on, we can watch this replay 7 times if you want me to.
Yeah, no, it is amazing. Wayne, this might sound silly, but his Todman Stakes run was very similar. His finishing speed was elite that day. He was on debut, but he needed to win that race to get into the Golden Slipper. In hindsight, is it almost, blessing's the wrong word, but the fact that he missed the Golden Slipper, has that worked into the benefit of the colt, do you think?
It has, you know what I mean, because your second race start running a Golden Slipper is never easy, and we saw everyone saw what happened to Todman. He didn't get checked, but he just got held up for those couple of strides, and definitely should have run second. Would he have won? Well, maybe. If he runs second, he probably nearly gets into the Golden Slipper. So, to be honest, this was the long range plan to run Todman into the Bailey with a chance of backing up in the sires. When the races got called off and transferred to the Tuesday, the sires was definitely off the table. So we won the Bailey, and then it was like 2.5 weeks to this race. So it was better to probably go. Well, obviously it was, because he's now Group 1 winner. But it was better to do this now, and the reason is, Ray, was because at least we can set up our spring and, you know, copy his cousin, so to speak, in Ole Kirk, and head for the Golden Rose into the Caulfield Guineas. Because why I'm saying that is, at least we can tick the box saying that he runs out the mile. Yeah.
Okay, let me ask this question. You have trained some unbelievable horses over the years. Where does this bloke rate? Like, and not because of what he's done and his very few starts, but I'm talking as a horse. Where does this bloke rate against some of the other champions that you've trained?
Where this bloke is, he's his own horse, of course. But what I'm trying to say is, when you watch him track work, Corey, he just goes from travelling, and I'm going to do this on air, bang, and he just lets rip and just goes. And pretty much if you go and watch his run in the Bailey, where he burst in between the horses, that's how he runs in his track work. And it was a lead up to the Bailey, and Britt McDonald, who rides him, also used to ride a grey called Chautauqua, and she came in off him on the Tuesday before the Bailey and goes, God, this was a crying shame we weren't running in the Golden Slipper. And Michael and I both went, don't worry about it. We've got other plans. So it worked out well. But what he is, he's very, very exciting, and everyone's going to say it was an even 2-year-old year and they weren't that great and everything like that. I remember when Jack and Bob Ingham bought Canny Ladd, I know he won the Golden Slipper, and they were saying it wasn't a great slipper year. There was 9 Group 1 winners come out of that race that ended up winning Group 1. So you can only beat what's there to be beaten, but this is a high-class horse. Devil Knight's a high-class horse. Federalist that ran in that race as well, and he ran out of his skin, Federalist. I mean, he's by him Invincible out of Arcadia Queen, and it's a crying shame this horse has had 3 starts and never run a place once because he's had no luck. And let me tell you, Federalist, honestly, is as good as what nepotism is. So we're just very, very lucky to have a lot of good horses. I'm probably ducking and weaving a bit from answering your question, but Ole Kirk, as far as 2-year-old goes, was, I reckon, the toughest 2-year-old I've ever trained. You know our training style, Corey, and and down in Melbourne, I was galloping Ollie Kirk Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, which we never do for a 2-year-old. And yeah, and even dear old Dad said, back it off a bit. I said, Dad, I can't, because I said he just gets ahead of himself. So this horse Nepotism's a bit like his old man. Wasn't really the dead set 2-year-old, but good horses get there. And there's one thing about horses, one thing about great horses. Nearly all of them race at 2 years of age. They don't all have to win, but they nearly all race at 2 years of age because they just do things they shouldn't be doing. And I've said this line 1,000 times. You don't make many excuses for winners post-race, I find.
I've always found over the years, Wayne, and correct me if you think it's wrong, when they're really good 2-year-olds, they generally taper off as a 3-year-old. But when they're hitting like top gear at the end of the 2-year-old season, like this bloke here, and you say that, it's not very strong year of 2-year-olds, but generally the 3-year-old season after that, these horses just go through the roof. Is that how you found it as well?
Michael sent me a tweet, and it said that in the year 2000 we had 1,500 2-year-old runners to January in the year 2000. January this year we'd had 750. So in 25 years it's halved. So to get pre-Christmas 2-year-olds and around Christmas 2-year-olds is rare as now. So, that's why the field sizes are so small in these 2-year-old races. And they're just taking the spring to come right, and then the autumn they're starting to get going if they're any good. But probably the difference between now and back when you were at Crown Lodge with me there, Corey, was they're not as tough today. The 2-year-olds aren't as tough. And then when you get horses like Nepotism, mate, you'd fire a bullet at him, he'd grab it in his mouth, turn around and spit it back at you. And that's why they are, because they just do it.
Oh, Wayne, who's champion 2-year-old then?
Oh, wow, it's the only unbeaten one is Vinrock, and I reckon he's going to get a bit left out because, Matt Laurie's done an exceptional job with him, but he has won in Melbourne, he's won in Sydney. Devil Knight nearly won a Blue Diamond Prelude, won a Blue Diamond, came down the outside in the wrong spot in the Golden Slipper. Tempted hasn't won a Group 1 race. I mean, she's a pretty good filly, that filly, and she was unlucky in the Diamond and the Slipper. Yeah. And then you look at the exposed form of the Group 1 winners, and you got sort of, was it Mahuna, the Golden Slipper winner? Well, she got beaten and then she won, and then obviously Nepotism's gotten beaten and then he's won one. So it's and then we've forgotten about the absolute spruik horse of the 2-year-old ranks, and that was Woderton. So I don't know. I reckon Tempton's as good as any of them, but she hasn't won the champion Group 1 race. So there's only three colts and there's one filly. So normally it's the Golden Slipper winner, Ray, but I reckon this year will probably be a change up. But I have to sit on the fence because I've got the Blue Diamond winner and the most impressive 2-year-old winner of the season that both in the paddock. I took him out this morning, Nepotism, and he went straight in the paddock next to Devil Knight. I stood there like a proud dad looking at the kids over the fence playing their first and second game. So, you know what? It's never a thing from a trainer's point of view when you have the champion 2-year-old right now. But when it comes to the end of the season and you do end up hopefully winning one of those titles, it's just a feather in your cap and it's a great thing for studs. So I would think Nepotism probably has to be the horse in front because the way that he won was probably the most impressive 2-year-old winner of the season or 2-year-old race of the season, should I say. Yeah,
I have to agree. He was off the charts. And he hasn't been the only star for you this autumn, Wayne. Of course, the stables had Briasa, who at just his second run this autumn won the Group 1 TJ Smith Stakes. And for a fleeting moment or two there, halfway down the straight, I thought he was home in the All-Age Stakes on Saturday. He's finished fourth. Perhaps at this stage of his career, was 1,400 metres just a touch beyond him, Wayne?
Yeah, you're right. It certainly was. Look, he would have run even closer if he hadn't got the 1-1. Sitting outside the lead, it was fine. He probably could have even gone forward and led, but it was just the fact that he's not ready for the 1,400 yet. But that's okay because that tells us a lot for next spring. And if you think about this horse, we've only been taking him through his grades, and it's only been this prep where he's hit the big stuff and desperately unlucky in the Galaxy, wins a TJ and pretty good bunch of horses that were behind him as you're watching the replay at the top of the straight. But he's still in front with 70 metres to go. I reckon if it had been 1,200, he would have just won and won convincingly. But he's not ready for the 1,400 metres as at this stage in his career, so that's okay. We'll just get ready for the Everest and the Everest, the Everest, the Everest, and the Everest. So that'll do me, Ray. If he doesn't have to, if he never has to run further than 1,200. But have a look at him here. He's all but home, isn't he?
Yeah.
But they just got home so strong, the other three in front of him, and only nailed him on the line.
He's always, like, you know, ever since I watched him win at Kembla, he's just always had my eye. But for me, Wayne, he's still got that little bit of baby about him. He's still not that finished product yet. Even when he parades in the enclosure, like, he's still, I wouldn't say lacklustre, but you can just tell he's still got a lot of upside to him.
You're actually spot on. And to put in perspective, this horse was winning a benchmark 84 on the Kenzo. I think it was the middle of October, leading up to the Hunter. So he was still a benchmark 84 only last preparation. So all of a sudden you're in the big league, and as I said, he should have won the Galaxy. The barrier beat him that day, and then he's won the best sprint race in the autumn. So look, people will drop off him because he's just gotten beaten, Corey, but he's going to be fantastic come the spring, because he's going to have a fat spell now, because they can have a really good spell. Hard from the spring to the autumn, can't really give him much time off, but they can have a great spell now. And I hope Hazy brings Kayi Rise and he comes down in one piece, because the Everest is going to be one hell of a race. And you're spot on. He's old enough and he's good enough, but he's not mature enough, and you've actually nailed it, Corey. You're right. I
don't think he's lost any admirers there on the weekend. I honestly was. I was slightly disappointed, but then when I went home and watched the replay over and over, he's just that 1,200 metre horse, and he's electric.
Yeah. Wayne, what about the Everest?
We just took our time with him.
Yeah. Wayne, what about the Everest? Is there any sort of deal closer now? There's been a lot of speculation about Briasa being locked away fairly soon. Can you give us any update?
Well, we've had two written appointments, I suppose, if you want to call it that. So if someone's thinking about doing something, I wouldn't be holding back. So it's obviously the fun time of the Everest, and there's plenty of people talking and everything like that. So there's only going to be 3 or 4 real top chances, and obviously he's going to be one of them. So it's nothing set in concrete yet, but the owners are saying that it's our responsibility. We're going, no, we don't get paid that much. It's your decision, not ours, this one. So the Johnsons have been great. If we said we're going to run this horse in the Quokka, take it to Alice Springs, Darwin, they'd just say, good, we're coming for the ride. But Michael told me the other day, this one's your choice on who's going to have the slot holder. We're just staying right out of that and being completely neutral.
Okay, on a different note. Swift Falcon, what's your honest thoughts here? He lost me on the weekend, but then when I went home again, watched the replays, and going back through his form, he's had some pretty gut-busting runs, I think, and ridden out of his comfort zone, having to be taken off early. So what are your honest thoughts about him?
Fast run mile. That's what he is, really. The Epsom, There's 2 races. There's the Epsom Handicap, and the other race is the Golden Eagle, the 1,500 on a hopefully a fast run race. And the Doncaster surprised me, really, because I thought they would have had a lot more speed in the Donny than what we did this year. But
they walked.
Jockeys have got to wake up. They really, really do. We're just going way, way, way too slow. And to be fair, let's get Gay and Adrian have a few more in the race, because they don't mind setting them to the front and letting them rip, to be fair. And I'm not being smart. I'm being genuinely serious. And where the pace in the races in Australia have really got slower and slower. But this horse, look, I was in the steward's room for 5 minutes with a please explain. It wasn't a change of tactic. And I'll be honest, what I said to Tyler was 2 starts ago on Doncaster Day, you just let him go back to last, and you just can't win doing that. Just jump, give him a couple of digs, and just hold your posse a bit, and just be a slightly bit more positive. Well, I didn't think I'd be 4 wide facing the breeze after they went 150 metres, and albeit we're outside the leader right there where you can see it, and they weren't running quick. The sectional there was about 13 for that furlong, but look, at the end of the day, it's amazing afterthoughts. Afterthoughts are a bugger of a thing, because this horse was right for the Doncaster. So you say, well, on the same day, shouldn't he have won that? But they're different types of races. And then you look at this race and think, well, you know what, it's probably another afterthought. We probably shouldn't have done it. But he's a gelding. He'll get to come back for the Epsom and then onto the Golden Eagle, as we said. But he still ran really, really well. I think it was more he was tired and he was flat and had enough. Than being disappointed, being ridden upside down. But it's always difficult for the stewards, and we, as you know, Corey, even when you were riding, John Hawkes never really gave you many instructions, did he? I mean, we don't really give a lot of instructions, but the stewards were entitled to ask the question, but it really wasn't about that. It was about, he just got caught 4 wide posted and then elected to go forward.
Yeah, I think an Epsom and a Golden Eagle, fast run, high pressure, will suit Swift Falcon coming late. Just one final one, Wayne, if you don't mind. I see Brave One is nominated this weekend for the Randwick meeting. Of course, he's the half-brother to Nepotism, and he's only very lightly raced. He's obviously a talented young horse, but the decision's been made to geld him, Wayne?
Yeah, look, he's a high-class horse that's shown us a lot of ability, and he just hasn't fired as a colt. So he's been gelded, and being 2 brothers, a bit like Michael with all the ability, and Wayne just tags along. So, my pedigree says that I'm a Group 1er, but I don't reckon I am. You'd agree with that, Corey, wouldn't you?
Oh, a little bit, yeah, a little bit. Well, while we're on that subject, I know John's not sort of front and centre anymore, and he's let you boys sort of take over. Has he softened a lot? I seen him at the races at Golden Slipper Day, and he's not the old John Hawkes he used to be.
No, I suppose, you're getting older and you're a grandfather now and everything like that. But someone said to me on Saturday night, dear old Dad, is he still involved? I said, he would have mucked out 8 or 10 boxes this morning, being Saturday morning. And Michael's girl, Felicia, I said, Felicia, come here for a second. How many boxes did Dad muck out this morning? She went, about 25. An old mate turned around, looked at me and said, are you serious? John Hawkes, he said, that's why he's a Hall of Famer and we're not. So, and then Felicia piped up and said, don't think he's just mucking out boxes. He's watched every horse that's walked past him. He's watched what everyone's done and everything like that. So Michael and I are out in the middle clocking them, and the dear old Dad's inside watching every move that everyone's making. But he just loves it. I mean, he loves doing what he's doing. He's never done it for money, Corey, as you know, and he's passionate about it. And you'd get a rev up for a bad ride at Kembla, but as he's always said to you, and you know this comment, it was that horse's Cox Plate day today. So he treats them all hard, but he always does, but it's only because he's always worn his heart on his sleeve. And I think, honestly, Corey, people don't actually know him as well as what you and Ray do, and he actually is a big softy. I hope he's not watching this because he'll kill me for saying that, but he actually is a big softy on the outside. When you get up and give him a cuddle, he goes to water, but geez, I really hope he's not watching.
One thing about him, Wayne, his attention to detail is absolutely amazing, John Hawkes. And look, congratulations. It's a great autumn carnival for yourself, Michael, and of course your father, John, with Devil Knight and the Blue Diamond, then Brias from the TJ Smith, Nepotism off the charts in the Champagne Stakes, and so much to look forward to come the spring. Congratulations again, and thanks for joining us on This Week, Next Week, Wayne Hawkes.
Thanks for having us, guys.
Good on you, mate.
There's Wayne Hawkes, and you rode for the Hawkes team for a long time, and I think that's the key, their attention to detail, and Michael and Wayne are the same. They don't miss anything.
They don't, and there was one day at Rosehill, Ray, I think I rode 4 winners for him, and I rode a second as well on the day for him, and I went to the track on the Tuesday morning expecting to get a spray from the one that I run second on, because I didn't give it a great ride. And he gave me a spray for one of the winners because I didn't ride it correctly. But no, he was terrific to ride for the Hawkes family. They were great. Yeah,
they've got some nice young horses coming through for the spring. Highlights the Autumn Carnival. This is a nice young horse. Where's the ceiling with this filly, Aliana? She was simply magnificent in the ATC Australian Derby.
And Aliana now takes the lead of the 300, beating off Plymouth. Shanwar, King of Thunder on the rails. Further back to Willie Do It and Firm Agreement. Aliana 175 out, 2 lengths clear from Willie Do It. Firm Agreement, but she's really opening up now, Aliana, and the filly's going to destroy them in the Derby. Aliana, different class. Boy, she towered the boys up by 5.
You can't see me, my time is now. It's the franchise when I'm shining now. You can't see me, my time is now. In case you forgot or fell off.
And welcome back to the show. Well, no stakes racing in Sydney this weekend. Of course, the carnival is over, but Tab's Tim Ryan's got plenty to do with so much stakes racing interstate. Tim, good evening.
Yeah, good evening, Ray. Yeah, you're right. Plenty on this weekend. The highlight will be the Quokka over in Perth and overpass. It's almost one-way traffic in the betting. He's now a $2.30 chance. Headwaller second pick, $6. Front page sent a little bit of support as an $8 chance. Western Empire rounding out the single-figure chances. Group 1 racing in Adelaide, Aspura, a $4 favourite. Climbing Star best backed, however. She's a $5 chance. Commemorative and Stretton Angel have also both seen some support. in the Australasian Oaks. This one over 2,000 metres. Moving out was a good firm on Saturday. Equal favourite at $4. If she pays up on Tuesday when final fields come out, I think she'll be favourite. Polymnia, the other galloper, that has seen a bit of support. And Tab Everest update, Carrying Rising remains a $2.30 chance. Briasa just out to $8 after Saturday, and Jimmy Star a firm up 15 into 11.
Of course, we'll see Carrying Rising this weekend in Hong Kong. Tim, which horse are you taking on Saturday?
Yeah, I'm going to do something I don't normally do, and I'm going to take on the field against Overpass. I think this guy's flying. He's 4 for 4 in Perth. He's won 2 winner bottoms, 2 quackers, and he goes there in better form. How do they beat him?
Yeah, it's a pretty compelling case for Overpass. He does look hard to beat. Plenty happening in New South Wales racing this week. We've got Coffs Harbour and Queanbeyan as our Tuesday meetings. On Wednesday, we'll be racing at Newcastle. Come Thursday, Albury and Tamworth Cup Day on Thursday. Also some trials at Randwick and Newcastle. Anzac Day on Friday, meetings all over the state. The Kensington is the main meeting in Sydney. Also racing at Gosford as our provincial meeting. Back to Randwick for the 4th consecutive Saturday this weekend. Newcastle again is our provincial meeting. Narromine and Port Macquarie is on Sunday. Corey, where are you going this weekend with a horse you'd like to ride?
I'm going to go to Perth and I'm going to ride every other horse bar Overpass.
You want to get Tim Ryan beaten?
Me and Timmy will clash again.
Fair enough. Well, for me, I think Brave won. The half-brother, the older half-brother to Nepotism, resumes on the Anzac Day meeting at the Kensington track on Friday. I think he'll be hard to beat. On behalf of Corey Brown and I, thanks for joining us on This Week. Next week, we'll see you next Monday.